Good morning, friends, and welcome back to my channel. Forgive the birds that you're going to hear in the background. It is early morning, and they love the morning just as much as I do. So in this video, we are going to be doing some resin fixing. I have done some whimsical farts that I showed you in the other video, and they had a little bit of lumps and bumps and hairs and just imperfections that I didn't like, and so I wanted to record a little bit of how I fix them. That orange thing that we just shown, that little box, is the pieces I use for that Dremel to sand. Inside of this box that I'm opening is a couple of rocks I'm going to be sanding. No, that is not a real Dremel, but just know you do not have to have top of the line stuff in order to create magical pieces. You use what your little hands can get a hold of, because art is from the heart. It isn't from a fancy piece of equipment. And so if you notice, I'm outside as we are going to be doing the sanding today. And the reason I'm outside is I cannot stand the resin powder getting in my hair or on my skin or any of that kind of stuff. If you notice, I have that little fan right there. I stand behind that fan and keep my piece in front of it, and I sand away all the powders and yuckies. So I highly recommend that if you are going to be doing any kind of resin or sanding of resin, please do it outside, my friends, because this stuff is highly nasty materials that you do not want to be breathing in. I do not wear a mask. However, I'm going to stress to you guys to wear a mask, because if you don't have a fan, you do not want to be breathing this stuff in. Since I started using the fan during the process of sanding, I don't have that problem with the stuff blowing back toward me. But for those of you that don't have a fan, it is going to come back up into your face. So please have the proper mask, eyewear, and even gloves for that matter. Right now what you see I'm doing is I'm taking the sanding bit on that Dremel, and I am going over the bottom of the rock to get rid of all those nipples that you've seen from that green mat that it was setting on. When I apply the resin, unfortunately, it does exactly what gravity does, and it falls straight to the bottom and creates little nipplets on the bottom that have to be cut off. I do not paint the bottom of stones, therefore I can just sand the bottom of it, put a clear coat varnish on it, and call it good. Now I'm jumping onto that wood piece. The wood piece is going to have the sides sanded off, where if you notice it had that little plate of resin that fell over during the curing process. I'm going to sand that piece off, and then I'm going to sand delicately around the wood to make sure that there is no resin bubbles within that wood. And then I go over a little bit of the art to sand off old resin that is going to cause a layer when I lay the new resin down. I know, enough. I hope it makes sense for what I'm telling you guys. I'm going to show you the bottom of the Zong rock, as that is going to be washed off in the water hose and scrubbed with the scrubby brush so that I get all that white powder and stuff off. And then I am going to go over it with this, I think it's called like DuraClear or DuraCoat, or I'll put some words up here and let you know what it is. But I'm going to go over the bottom of that, and that is going to make the rock have the same finish as it did before I started sanding. Because unfortunately, when you sand on rocks, it causes scuffs and stuff. You know what I mean? So the that little clear bottle that you see behind my rock, that is what I have put on there, and that gives it that finish that makes it look shiny, if you see what I'm showing you in that clip right there. So that is magic for the bottom of rocks after you've had to sand them. So enough of the rocks. Now we're going to jump into the wood part. I have already did all of my sanding outside. The part that you did not see was me wiping everything down with alcohol. When it comes to the wood, I don't run it under water. I just wipe it off with alcohol. Now I'm going to cut up frog tape. I highly recommend frog tape, but the blue tape, the blue masking tape, works just as good. Again, get whatever you can get your hands on, because to make art is strictly doing it from your heart. It doesn't have to have, you don't have to have the same materials I'm using. You don't have to have the same paintbrush paints, all of that shit, because you're not making exactly what I'm making. You're going to make your interpretation of what I'm creating, or this artist or that artist. And therefore, if you use different items, it's quite all right, because you're only making inspired art, if that makes sense. So I'm going to continue taping all the way around these pieces, and then I'm going to put a layer of latex over the back of them. Now, one of these pieces I try to get all fancy with and put latex over the green tape as well to prevent I was just being overcautious. I didn't want to have to redo these again, Bins. It was the second time having to redo these, and I still need to hang them and photo them and get them ready for the game of Shrooms. By the way, this piece, or a piece that I have in another video, is going to be offered in Game of Shrooms that happens in June 8th. So stay tuned for that if you guys are interested. But anyways, so we're going to put latex on the back of these, and that latex is going to protect the resin that will accidentally fall over. So what we're going to do is, after we put before you put the latex, please do me a favor and make sure that your resin is 100% cured. Not a day old, I mean like 6 days old, due to the fact that if it is not cured, you're using another chemical compound mixed with that chemical compound, and beans it's not cured yet, they'll burn. And when you pull that latex backing off, it's going to leave a foggy burn on it because it wasn't cured, and now it has cured with the chemicals from that latex. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so go ahead and make sure that your pieces are completely cured before you tape and latex the backs of them. I will put latex over the back of these things. I will show you that process, and then I will show you how it looks like right after I latex, and I mean like right after. And then I'll show you like 30 minutes. I think one of them is about 6 hours, and then one of them is the very next day right before we actually do the resin. After I resin them, I don't show the resin process in this video, as I've already made a resin video that I will link, like one of those little fancy iCards in here, or I will link that video in the description below. But you can go ahead and watch that video to see how I do the resin process for the first layer, and then come back over here and find out how to continue with fixing a resin piece, I guess. But after I get done with the resin, you'll notice in the next clip of this video, or a little down the video, I'm going to be peeling off that green tape and the latex. That is absolutely the most satisfying thing ever. It's like peeling glue off of your hand when it dried when you were in like 2nd grade, okay? Absolutely satisfying. Watching the latex peel off the back of your piece and take the resin with it, which would have usually been stuck to your piece causing damage, it is the most satisfying thing ever, my friends. I can't stress that enough. And it's actually quite fun. So I will be showing you that process again toward the end. But for now, we're going to continue to apply that latex. And another thing I don't think I mentioned earlier is that we want to make sure that when we're applying the latex that we apply a level coat of this stuff. Because if it's not level, remember when we flip it over, your wood needs to be level to have the resin actually dome properly. So on one of my pieces, I don't know if it shows, or if I show you, I'll point it out when I'm peeling off the back of them in here, if I even get to that piece to show you. But while you're putting the latex on the back of them, if you put too much, it is going to cause it to have a rock in there, like it does on a chair that's missing a leg or missing the little bottom of it, you know. And we don't want that, because you don't want your resin to roll to the left or roll to the right. You want it to dome off and level. The beautiful thing about resin, or at least the type that I use, it self-levels itself. So if you have a level area, and even if you apply all the resin to the right hand side, it's eventually just going to kind of pull itself out and balance itself out the way that it is. This is right here, right after I got the latex on. This clip right here is about 30 minutes in to the latex. This clip right here is about 6 hours in to the latex curing time. And then this is the very next day after it has cured for 24 hours. I recommend the 24-hour cure. Patience has got to be something you practice with when you're doing art. This is them right after I resin them, before I put the little dome over them so that they don't get any dust particles. And then this is the fun part. This is where we are going to start peeling off that yummy good stuff we just put on the back to protect it. It is absolutely worth that process that we just went through of taping and latexing and waiting. When you see how easy it is. Now, I do take my glove off because I have little bitty nails that I can use to get under the tape. And unfortunately, with the gloves on the right hand, I'm not able to get under the tape as well because the glove just interferes. I don't take the glove off the left hand because that piece has only been cured for about 24 hours and I don't want my fingerprints on it. I always am extremely cautious to let my pieces cure for a couple of days before I start touching them with my fingerprints. Also, I do that for the fact that I don't want any like dents or divots or anything put into the resin if for whatever reason 97% of it cured and there's that 1% that hasn't cured. So then while I'm touching it with my bare hand, it's going to have fingerprints in it. However, if I touch it with my gloved hand, you won't even notice. So that is the reason for having the glove hand on the left hand versus the right. I don't leave the latex longer than 24 hours on the back of that piece either. So the minute I pour the resin and that resin sets within 24 hours, I peel the latex off. You want to do that while your resin is fresh cured. The reasoning for that is resin gets harder the longer it sets. When your resin is only like 24 hours cured, you are going to be able to rip that latex and resin off extremely easy. If you let it set for 2 and 3 days, you might have to get an X-Acto knife out to help you get that tape and latex off due to the fact that it has now cured and the resin is hard as shit. You're going to see in here, I think it's the next piece that I start peeling. It has a very large plate of resin that has rolled off the top. And that plate of resin beautifully peels off as I peel off the tape. There's a little struggle, like, don't get me wrong, but it absolutely peels off perfectly. The one that I will do next, which would be the fourth one that I peel, I'm going to actually tap the back and let you hear it in real time, what it sounds like, to show you guys that I do have this big plate of resin on the back of it as well. So this one right here, after I peel it, I will show you what it looks like. Like all of that resin that you see by my thumb is literally going to be attached to one piece of latex. So after I peel it completely off, I'm going to pick it back up and show the camera that big chunk of resin that's attached to the latex. And again, I can't stress, look at how simple that is. That is a big plate of resin that just lifted with the magic of that latex. The latex that I use, I don't know if I showed you in any of the other videos, but it is like a skin latex that you would use for like doing cosplay makeup or sci-fi makeup or whatever that type of makeup is, where they know how to put their faces all scary and stuff. It's latex for human skin. So that is why I use that latex, because I'm a person that is kind of hands-on with everything. I don't like to wear gloves when I do stuff. I don't like to, I like to do things barehanded. And so I try to get things that are as skin friendly as possible. And see that big chunk of resin right there that is just attached to latex? Isn't that magic? And what I mean by stressing the magic of it, if you notice how that resin is like bendy. That's what I mean by you don't want to let your resin cure completely, as I was stating earlier, because then that piece won't be so flexible and bendable to just snap right off the back of it. This piece that I'm working on, if you heard just a minute ago before I did that little cut in, this is the piece that actually has, I did the little tapping. That's also to show you the resin on the back of it and how completely simple it is to pull that off, due to the fact that the latex puts this magical covering over. And even though the resin is hot and the resin does what resin does, that latex just magically protects that coat underneath. And again, if any of you guys are doing art that is dual-sided and you can't just get a hold of tape, or the tape has somehow let resin drip through or get in the way, do me a favor and invest in the latex. It lasts a while. I've had mine now for over a year. I mean, of course, to the top, it starts to like dry out, but it lasts a really long time. And as little as you use, it's kind of worth the $12 off Amazon. You know what I mean? To prevent double work, or to prevent your hair being pulled out of your freaking scalp, because that's exactly what ends up happening when you fight resin dual-sided art. At least for me, speaking from experience. So this piece right here ends up being the hardest piece that I have to deal with. I end up getting an X-Acto knife out to also fix this piece, but I don't believe I show that in this video, me picking at it with the X-Acto knife. And I don't know that I don't show it because I get so focused in my work that if I have to look at a piece up close, if I have to walk away and go to the magnifying glass to see where I'm actually picking so that I don't damage anything, I forget that I'm recording, to be honest. And that's why I believe this part isn't in the camera, unfortunately. But you'll see I'm still peeling it all off. I get the tape first around the edges, and then I'll wipe off that whole back where the latex goes, and then I fight around the edges again with the tape. Also, this piece is the one that had a tissue on the bottom of it that was helping it balance. I don't know if I know I didn't point it out to you because I've been rambling on with this video, but I will put words up back in the video where it was a little white tissue that I had to put under this piece because it had that rock I was talking about that annoys the shit out of me when you're trying to dome the tops. These are them right after being peeled and showing you how magically delicious they look. They're so shiny and so sparkly, and after peeling off the latex and knowing that both sides are completely perfect, that's the most satisfying thing in my world, you guys. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Hey friends, Editing Dreads here, and I didn't close out the video properly because I didn't really know how to close that video out. After showing you all the pieces that were resined and perfectly in their glory, I signed off, I guess, and I didn't anyhow, I just want to give you guys a proper closeout to the video. And please forgive the appearance of the face. We had a roller skate accident, so that was another reason why I kind of didn't want to be on the camera to show face, was because I don't like to, you know, some people have sensitive bellies and I don't want to offend anybody's stomach. So yeah, with that, I thank you guys for tuning in. I thank you guys always for your likes, shares, comments, all of the above. Thank you for supporting my small channel. I really hope that what you learned in today's video helps you tremendously on your resin journey, because resin is something that is such a pain in the ass to play around with and deal with. It is nice to know that there is, I guess, little tricks of the trade that just kind of help the process along for those of you that would like to have a little assistance. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by, leaving me comments, all of the above. Thank you guys for being a part of this channel. I really appreciate all of you guys, and I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't feel like people out there didn't want to learn or be inspired by someone with absolutely no training at all. So again, you know the rules. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, smile, keep your paintbrush on the canvas, and until next time, my friends.